Hey everyone, my name is Mike Vaughn. I'm a writer for Geek Vibes Nation. I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Strange Cinema.
And I'm Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director for GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast.
And welcome to a new Video Addict new release roundup. As always, we do a back and forth. We talk about the latest home video releases. And I say this every week, but boy, we got a diverse, wild, crazy slate of movies. But I'm going to kick it off with a movie that I have to say the cast and the cover kind of suckered me into. And that is If I Had a Million.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at these reactions, though. Amazing. But here's the back. So yeah, this is a really interesting one because it's essentially an anthology film. Um, it's a really interesting framing device where it's this like eccentric old, I guess, multi-millionaire who is like, presumably on his deathbed and is like, I'm gonna like just leave my money to random people. Like I'm literally gonna just put like a dot on the phone book, and whoever it hits is gonna get this money. And so we follow these short vignettes of like people who get the money and like how that impacts their life or what they do with it. Um, Crazy. This movie is what you've seen this. You've seen this. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah, so I'm excited to hear what you think. But like, it just was very like I liked it. I found it really engaging. I found it tonally just wild. Like you had this like really heart wrenching, almost to the point where it was like so like depressing. It almost felt satirical, but it wasn't. And then you'll have like something like that, and then you'll have like one that's like hijinks, and um, and I watched this is one of the few ones that like my husband was also interested in seeing, and he's like, this is interesting, but like it's just the tone is wild, and I was like, yeah, it's something. And one of the big reasons I got this was Charles Lawton, and he's in it for like a minute, maybe 2 minutes. Not an
Yeah.
exaggeration. Um, but it was fun. It's definitely one of those interesting discoveries that I didn't hate watching. I believe one of the writers was Ernst Lubitsch, Joseph L. Mankiewicz. So that kind of like also was like, okay, this has a lot of like really good, strong creative forces at play here. Um, was fine. It just, again, like tonally, it was very strange, but um, like the W.C. Fields ones was kind of weird because they were just like vehicular manslaughtering people on the
Yeah.
road,
It's great.
which is something. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I found it to be fun. I talked about this in the March Kino Classics video that I did about a month ago. I really like anthology films, and I like that. Like, if you're not really vibing with one story, you get another one. But there are some weird tonal shifts, like from like very dramatic stakes of like I like how it can veer from between like people like being elated that they are getting this money, and then other people just not believing it's happening, and they're like kind of digging their own graves by not like believing that this is happening, and it's like tragic irony. And I like that the studio used this like, okay, we have all of these like talented people on our payroll, we can get them to come in for like a day to do this, and we can like package it all. It's like, look at this star-studded movie with like sucker people to come in it. But there's some good stories, there's some kind of but like overall I think it's pretty fun, and it's not too long, which is always a plus for me.
Yeah, that's a great point. It does whiz by. It's only 88 minutes. This was pre-code, um, and you could definitely see that there is some like a little bit of risque stuff that you probably may not have gotten away with. And yeah, so it's good though. I had a good time. Is it something I would probably watch a lot of? Maybe not, but yeah, it was a really cool discovery. So yeah, if you like those actors, check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. My first title is a new one from Sony. It's one of their Steelbook releases with a Dolby Vision upgrade. I'm talking about Cliffhanger. So I will take off the J card. So you have this J card here that has all the information, but underneath it, so here's the cover art without the card, and then here's the back. Nice shot here. And then so here's the disc, and I will take it out so you can kind of see the artwork of the helicopter flying in. I do not want to damage the disc, so give me just a second. And come on. Oh, all right. Had a grip on there. Okay. So here is like holding the bags of money that are featured in the movie. And let me gingerly put these back. My wife claims that we watched this movie together sometime early in our dating, decade plus ago. I do not remember it, so this whole experience was like a fresh watch for me. But this is a fun movie. It's very dramatic. It is Sylvester Stallone. At the beginning, there's like a dramatic rescue at the top of a mountain where like Michael Rooker and his girlfriend are like stuck in this peak, and Stallone and his girlfriend, who is like flying the helicopter, like fly up to save them. And I'll just say tragedy strikes, and then like kind of jumps forward in time a little bit. And Stallone, he's like just coming back to town after being gone for a long time, and he's kind of haunted by what happened on this like attempted rescue. But around the time he comes back, there's also kind of this plane money heist going on with like a government agent that's transporting like a large amount of money that kind of goes rogue. And so the two storylines kind of intersect where this plane goes down with all this money and all these antagonists led by magnificently like malicious John Lithgow, who I really love. I love that he can play like broad comedy, like on Third Rock from the Sun, and then just do like horror, like villainous roles like this, and like Dexter and everything. I love him. But whenever the Stallone character goes to kind of help them out, him and the Michael Rooker character kind of get caught up in this kind of conspiracy to like retrieve all these bags that were lost in the plane crash. And so along this journey, there's like pretty like tense moment and action packed like rescues and trying to evade like capture and trying to escape, and like coming across hikers that they are trying to like also keep from peril. And it's just a really good thriller. And I like that it's kind of more unique because it has kind of that mountain climbing like backdrop to it. So there's like some really tense moments of just like you almost get kind of vertigo watching certain shots like from down the mountain and everything. But it's a really big, dumb, fun movie. One of the themes of my selections this week are just like dumb fun for the most part. Like I was just watching a lot of really dumb stuff, but like mostly having fun with it. But this may kind of reign supreme because it's just like a classic like 90s action. I can see why, like it's from the director of Die Hard, so you kind of know like you're in good hands with this. And then like Stallone, he's like a classic action like hero. So the movie's fun. I think probably I'm telling a lot of our audience nothing new because they've probably seen it, but it's a really fun movie. But this was released on 4K, I believe, about 6 years ago. I think it was in 2017 originally. And as I mentioned, Sony's been re-releasing a lot of their earlier titles with new and steelbooks with Dolby Vision, and that is the case here. I don't have the original release, so I cannot compare the two. I know I saw a lot of people like the original release, but one of the complaints they had was it had insanely bright white like highlight levels that were kind of like almost like blinding. um, they're still very bright whites in this, but I think the Dolby Vision, what it does, it just kind of control them just a touch more, probably. As I said, I don't have that comparison, but I didn't find them to be like too blinding. So I'm not sure the exact difference, but they are very bright, but they are kind of controlled. And I think it has like a really nice like colors in this. And the only kind of like minor detriment to this picture is there's like minor moments, like maybe 10% of the movie has like some DNR applied. So there's like a little bit of smoothness where you don't want it. But I think that may have been like in within the master that maybe Sony was working with or something. But overall, it's a good transfer. It looks really nice in 4K. It has Dolby Atmos audio and the original DTS 5.1. The Dolby Atmos is very impressive, and like you, especially like on those mountains and stuff, and having high channels, there's just like you feel right in the middle of these like action moments. And in addition to that, there's also on the 4K a new selection of deleted scenes. There are technically 17 deleted scenes, but a lot of them are just kind of trims of like different scenes, so like less than 30 seconds. So altogether, these 17 deleted scenes total about 10 minutes. So nothing too expansive, but there are moments that weren't released previously on disc. So if you are thinking about upgrading, that's another plus in like the upgrade column. And then on the Blu-ray, there are two commentary tracks, making a featurette, and like various featurettes about the movie, and like an introduction from Rennie Harlan. So overall, pretty solid release. If you don't have it, definitely this is the one to get. If you had the previous 4K, maybe way of Dolby Vision and these deleted scenes are enough for you, or just the steelbook packaging as well, which is pretty cool. But I really like this movie, and I highly recommend it for anyone who's a fan of it.
Nice. That is one that I have never actually seen.
Oh,
So
nice.
this actually will probably be the push that I need to check it out. Um, but I'm going to take us back to the 30s again. This is also a Kino Studio Classic title, and that is Cecil B. DeMille's The Crusades. And here is the back. We had a really nice commentary track. So, yeah, from the title, this is a tricky movie because the Crusades was obviously a very like bloody kind of period in history. There was definitely, I don't know. It's very heavy topic, but it's interesting how like this is a very digestible sort of like black and white kind of Hollywood version of that. And it's interesting because this is more kind of played up as something like it kind of felt like almost like an Errol Flynn kind of adventure movie, action movie.
Mhm.
And it's not to say that this movie doesn't take the material seriously. There is some like very heart wrenching scenes, like there's also just some like scenes of really cringy stuff, like a sexual assault that's sort of played for like fun giggles. That's very cringy, but I mean, that was like
Yeah.
from 5. But yeah, this movie, I found it really interesting. I will say I think it's just too long. I think that narrative wise, it really could have used maybe like a tighter pace. But really, you cannot deny that this film is just beautiful to look at. It's lavishly shot, the costumes, the production design. Like, this is an epic in kind of every sense of the word. I mean, they really had the best of the best working on this. And it was Cecil B. DeMille. I mean, he was kind of the byword for these big, beautiful, epic films. And the acting is fine. It's a little stylized. This kind of bleeds over into like the overacting a little bit from the silent era that you can kind of see in some of these early 30s films. But yeah, it was overall, I thought, really engaging and good. I just thought, I mean, I think that there was maybe kind of worse ways that you could handle this subject matter. Obviously, the way they handled it is a little bit like I said, shallow, sort of black and white. It doesn't really touch upon the nuances of what was going on, but yeah, it's fine. It's a 30s Hollywood movie. It's a big, epic film. I kind of wish that this would have been in color because you could really get the full effect of this beautiful, again, the costuming, the like I mean, this gives you a little bit of an idea of just like how luscious and great this movie looks. And yeah, this release looks great. It doesn't say if it's a 2 or 4K scan, but it looks really nice. I didn't really see anything in way of like damage or artifacts or anything like that. Again, I think like this transfer really heightens just how beautiful and like fantastic it looks. So yeah, the Crusades, it's a little boring, it's a little predictable, but it's just beautifully shot. Like I said, there are moments of tenderness that just like make your heart ache. Um, and it kind of reminds me of like Sign of the Cross, but I like that more because there's like it's just an orgy of sex and destruction, and it's a great pre-code. It's kind of the movie that sort of pissed everybody off enough to be like, we got to crack down. But this was made, when the Hays Code was strictly enforced, so we don't really get all of the really fun stuff. We just get kind of a preachy Cecil B. DeMille action adventure movie, but it's fine. And yeah, it looks great. If you're a fan of this, I'd say check it out. If you're a DeMille completist, Kino's got you covered. They've released a bunch of their stuff in the past, so yeah.
Right on. I am moving on to, I'm doing a double dose of Sylvester Stallone. I'm going to the modern Sylvester Stallone, and I'm going with Paramount Plus's Tulsa King season one. This goes along with Taylor Sheridan's output that he's been doing lately. So he has his like stalwart of Yellowstone, but then he did like Mayor of Kingstown and some Yellowstone spinoffs. But now he got Tulsa King, and there's 2 discs, 9 episodes. And so this one is a little bit different than some of his other shows because it kind of leans a little bit more comedy than any of those. It's still a drama, but there's like a lot of like really like dark comedy and like interesting comedy within this. This is basically Stallone. He plays like a mafioso who has just spent 25 years in prison. He just freshly got out of prison. He never snitched or anything. Whenever he goes back to kind of claim his like reward for being loyal, he learns that there's like kind of new people in charge and they don't really respect the old ways, and like his gift is to be given a whole city, and that city is Tulsa, Oklahoma. So he is sent to Oklahoma, much to his dismay, because he is very pissed off, to kind of set up like a crime shop in Tulsa. So it goes to this kind of like sleepy city where there's not too much crime, and just like everyone's just pretty chill and just like create a crime empire. So it's just Sylvester Stallone like showing up, been out of the game for 25 years, but like still he's like a fish out of water trying to set up his shop in this city. And like the first thing he does, like upon getting off like the airplane and getting into a like taxi cab, he comes across a dispensary, which is legal, but he turns it into something that is like, he's just like, I'm gonna offer you protection from the cops. And the like Martin Starr plays the owner. He's just like, I don't, this is legal. I don't need protection. He's like, no, I'm going to protect you. You're just going to give me a cut. And he's like, he's Sylvester Stallone, and he's intimidating, and he's just like knocked out somebody. So he just kind of gets into business with people, and it's fun seeing his character acclimate to this like community, because he's like a New Yorker through and through. And just, are you rooting for him like to corrupt this town? I mean, yes and no, depending. Like, it's fun to root for the character, but it's like it's bad what he's trying to do, and just seeing kind of this character evolve over the season is pretty fun. It's not a perfect show, but Stallone especially makes it very watchable. And Andrea Savage, who I really love, she's had like a lot of bit roles and stuff. She plays a role in this, and I love her. So it's great seeing her. And then I love Martin Starr and like a bunch of other cast members. So it's like a good mixture of drama and comedy. Like I said, fish out of water, but it's just Stallone in Oklahoma. And if that sounds fun to you, you'll probably have fun with this. All of his mushmouth glory is like in full effect. You'll probably have to have subtitles on the entire time to get most of what he's saying, but it's great. And this, like I said, this is 2 discs. Looks great on Blu-ray. I didn't see much in the way of compression or anything like that. There's over 90 minutes of special features. Each episode has like a behind the scenes featurette, and then there's like featurettes with the stuntmen and like about Stallone himself and the season at large. There's a lot like Paramount's been doing a really good job with the Taylor Sheridan shows in terms of like special features. They've really been loading them down. This also comes in a steelbook, which I did not get, but if you're a steelbook fan, there's an option. But it's a fun show. Sample it on Paramount Plus if you're like on the fence, but definitely check it out. It surprised me with how much I enjoyed it.
Nice. No, that seems awesome. I love Stallone, so big fan. I recently, of course, covered the Rocky movies, so I like really got into doing a deep dive on those. So I have a big box set that I'm going to cover. This took up a lot of time, but it was so much fun, and also mentally draining at the same time, which I think is a good way to sum up Transformers.
Yeah.
So, um, gosh, I cannot wait to show off this packaging. Paramount did an amazing job, but we'll just take a look at here's the removable J card here. I'm gonna take that off. So here is a better look at that. And yeah, so maybe we can get Andre to do like some sound effects.
Putang ina! Si Optimum Pride! Puking inang yan, Optimum Pride! Babe, si Optimum Pride do.
This transforms. And ooh, look at that.
Nice.
And yeah, so this is a really nice, smart way to package these. Steel books are very delicate, but housing them in a really nice, sturdy case was a really smart, awesome idea. So I'm going to show these off really quick. I was going to do an unboxing video, but we're just going to show this off right now. Baby. So we got the first Transformers. Really cool packaging. I mean, really a lot of really cool work went into designing these. So also the first film is where the digital codes for all 6 films are housed. You also get this.
Nice.
Really cool. I think it's like a magnet or something, but I love it. So here's 3. And I mean, again, each one you're getting a lot like increasingly more damage on the back. And this sort of correlates, of course, with the movie. You get like the claws here. That's really cool. And we're gonna, and I mean, this is by far the best one.
Bumblebee.
So yeah, and then here's just again another look at the inside of the packaging here. Again, really nice, really smart way to protect your steel books and just have a cool place to keep them. So I'm gonna just go through my very general sort of thoughts on the series. this is a franchise that's been talked to death. Whether Michael Bay is your personal hero or you think he's a scumbag, I try to divorce. It's hard because he puts so much of his personality sort of on display, and I think he does in this series sort of tone that down a little bit. I mean, it's still very bombastic. You still get this like um almost just like kinetic energy. These movies feel like hyper children that like are always going and going and going, and it's kind of exhausting. But I will say that like the male gaze and like the whole Megan Fox of it all sort of gets smoothed out a little bit. I mean, pretty famously, Megan Fox got replaced. Um, I think let me check my notes, but I think it was the third film that she.
It was.
Okay. Yeah, I had to take notes because these movies are just blurring together in my head. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I just think that they did Megan Fox so dirty. Like I understand she had some controversial things that she said. Spielberg, I guess, allegedly was, like fire her, let her go. Um, but yeah, I just think the characters are hard to root for. I think Shia LaBeouf's character kind of gets on my nerves increasingly more and more as the series goes on, and I kind of like how later movies sort of pivot to other characters. I believe it was I think The Last Night is the sort of like not Shia LaBeouf.
The fourth one is the Age of Extinction, is where Mark Wahlberg gets introduced.
Yes. Okay, yeah. So was it The Last Night then? I think like I don't know, the one that had the sort of Shia LaBeouf like character. He was also sort of like a very look kind of actually similar.
Yeah, that must have been Last Night, because then the six. Well, Bumblebee is the sixth movie in this, but it's not the six Transformers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Bumblebee I liked because it felt just like, they're of course taking a lot of lore and stuff from the other films, but it seems more streamlined and the characters are a really nice refresh. I like the different point of views. I like that it doesn't feel really gross. These movies are so horny. It's wild. I forgot just how everybody's humping, everybody's like farting. There's a peeing robot. Um, all these Oscar nominated winning Emmy winning actors just pop in and really have nothing to do. Um, it just blows my mind, but I guess money. So these movies made a lot of it. It's it, it's an interesting series. I don't know if I would say it was fun watching all of them, but it definitely was interesting. I'm just not a big Bay fan. I think he's evolved more. I do like, I mean, some of his recent stuff I actually really liked. Ambulance, I thought was fantastic. So I'm not just somebody that's like hating on Michael Bay. I genuinely think he's grown as a director. These movies are kind of fossils in a way. Except again, Bumblebee's good. So there's that. These, as far as I can tell, are imprints from the previous 4K releases, and those all look really great. Again, I think they did a really stellar job. Even some of the older films, like, just have a nice, really refreshed look to them. The sound is great. When you have these like big action movies, you want that really good dynamic range in sound, and I think you definitely get that with these 4K films. So yeah, it's a great set. The movies, I mean, if you're a fan, this is a must own. Like Paramount really did a good job of like everything just is so detailed. I mean, these steel books are just really cool. So if you're a fan, yes, this is a must. If you're kind of on the fence, maybe rent them or first or something. It's a big investment. But if you are a fan, like I said, it's great. Um, all of these, it's just nice to have these all housed in one really cool looking box. Yeah, so I would definitely recommend it if you're a fan. If you're again sort of hot and cold on it, maybe just like get Bumblebee and that's it. I don't know. I also believe that, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe these steelbooks are being individually released.
I
Um,
don't think so.
yeah, okay. Yeah, so if you want the really cool looking steelbooks, you're gonna have to get this set. But if you're kind of content with just picking and choosing your favorite, that's fine too. I just think this is a really good set, and um, some of the movies are fine, some of them are not good at all. Like these movies are just way too long. I think if I had to sum up the series, they're just very bloated. What do you think of these? Are you a fan of the series or?
Intermittently. I remember whenever I got out of the theater the first time I saw the very first Transformers, I was just like, that was incredible. I was so stoked. I was on such a high. And like I'm even kind of an apologist for two, even though everyone hates that one because there's like robot balls and stuff going on top of the pyramids. But I actually saw that one like twice in theaters, I think, shamefully, but I did. But then the third one kind of lost me because I was just like, I am so bored. And then I took a several year break from the franchise, and I finally just recently got caught up in the last few years. And there's some good stuff. Like I like the last, like you can say like I like the last hour of Age of Extinction when there's like the previous 2 hours were not great. Like I'm just like, what are these? How long are these movies?
Yeah.
I like the dinos. That's pretty cool. But I don't know. This is very like hit and miss.
Yeah. What did you think about, since you like two, what did you think about Soundwave and how they incorporated him?
Well, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I just remember a lot of the personality of all these Transformers just kind of got lost. They kind of all just seem interchangeable. And I remember enjoying seeing Soundwave, but that it didn't seem like he was in it that much from what I could tell. Like, I don't know, they all just kind of like, whenever you watch like something like Transformers the movie, like the animated one from the 80s, like everyone has like a specific personality, but everything that Michael Bay touches just kind of seems to be like the same, but just with different little mechanics.
And did you cover the I know Shout Factory did the animated movie. Did you cover that?
Yes, I wrote a review for that before that predated our show. Like that was
Okay.
a while back. But yeah, I can provide a link to that in our description.
Yeah. It's yeah, I don't know. I think the biggest maybe thing besides it just being weirdly horny is like I don't feel like they handled Optimus Prime
Oh,
like right at all. And infamously the voice actor, like there was a lot of lines he didn't want to say, especially in some of the later ones. Like when he just goes completely sort of like kill crazy. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, he's like supposed to be the good guy. I don't get it. But anyways, yeah, I mean again, A plus set of the movies I think are, I mean, a mixed bag is being generous, but
yeah, yeah, for sure. It's that series. Like we have a new one coming up, and I can't register excitement for that one, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm doing a double dose of Kino Classics titles now. So first off, I'm going to go with the 1964 drama Joy House with Alain Delon and Jane Fonda. And my wife is a big fan of Jane Fonda, so I got her to watch this with me as well. I coaxed her into it. I was like, "Hey, your girl Jane's in this." So this is one of the rare titles with a reversible cover art, so I'll show that off as well. So, moody title, like kind of like this one. Like you could conceivably kind of classify this as noir, but I don't know. It doesn't really seem like it to me. But this one I found to be pretty engaging overall. It's Alan. He plays a crook who's kind of on the run from the mafia, and like I think they're on maybe the French Riviera, if I'm not mistaken. And he runs into, or he gets hooked up with this affluent widow who like has a cousin who kind of like lives in with her, played by Jane Fonda, and it just kind of becomes almost kind of like a complex love triangle, kind of, but with like kind of like scheming and weird power dynamics and like mystery woven into. There's like almost like some Hitchcockian elements that I found interesting. Like there, I don't want to spoil any revelations, but then there like certain things would pop up and I was like, oh, okay. And then like obviously not to give away the ending or anything, but there's like certain like dramatic twists that I'm like, ooh, that's evil. I like that. Like it's just kind of like it all kind of comes together pretty well in the end. Some of the journey along the way can be slightly boring at times, but I think the ending makes up for it because it's like so evil, and like it's fun. But I really liked all the performances. The direction was pretty solid. It's not too long, thankfully. It's only 97 minutes, so not overly long. But it's just like a nice, like internationally tinged, like flavored thriller drama. But this is, there's two language track. There's an English track and a French track. I viewed it like in English because most of the actors seem to be playing English, especially Jane Fonda. But I spot checked the French track. It also sounded good. There's an audio commentary track from Nathaniel Thompson and Howard S. Berger, two film historians. And this comes from a 2K scan conducted by, I don't know how to say it, Gaumont, Gaumont. It's a label overseas that does a lot of restorations. So you have that restoration. It looks pretty nice. Black and white contrast is good. Not a lot of damage. Holds up really well. So overall, it's a solid release if you've been looking for this movie. If you're a Fonda fan, she does have like a really substantial role in this, and there's like a lot of like teased sexiness from like a lot of the women, but like they wield their powers in interesting ways. It's not all objectifying them, which is always a plus. My other title, going on more along my and this is going to continue for a little bit, my kind of like cheesy fun type stuff. This is from 1991, and this is Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth, which I had never seen before. It's very simple concept. It is Brian Bosworth. He plays a cop who doesn't play by the rule. I've talked about this like same type of movie like 4 times in the last month. Doesn't play by the rules, but he goes undercover and kind of gets in a little too deep. But this one also comes with double-sided artwork, so this is a rare find, 2 for 2 with double-sided artwork. So yeah, look, the Capitol is burning in the background. That's pretty awesome. But Brian Bosworth, he plays a cop who goes undercover in a biker gang, who's up to no good. And I really like because there's the leaders of this biker group are Lance Henriksen and Williams Forsythe, both who I like quite a bit. I know we talked about The Devil's Rejects a couple weeks ago whenever you're talking about House of a Thousand Corpses. I love Williams Forsythe in that especially. So just seeing him, anytime he pops up in anything, I'm just like, he's such an interesting character actor, but I really love his performances. And this is no different. There's a lot of cheesy violence and action, but this is one of the action movies that I'm talking about today that actually has like really good production value. Like you have like really well made like car explosions and just like shootouts and all kinds of stuff, like good makeup effects. decent acting for this type of movie. I wouldn't say that Brian Bosworth is a particularly notable actor. He is mostly just kind of like there and like with his mullet goodness, just making the screen glow. But like Lance Henriksen, he plays a good villain, and it's just it's a solid bad but fun action movie. Like it does the job. It's like has good production value. Like I said, it's not egregious like storylines or anything. It's nothing revolutionary, but like they're not doing things that make your head hurt from stupidity, which is a plus. Overall, just solid time. This comes from a 2K scan of the 35 millimeter inner positive. It holds up pretty well. You can still find some damage and specks and stuff here and there, but nothing too glaring, thankfully. It holds up pretty nicely. It's a good viewing experience. The sound is pretty solid. There's some like fidelity fluctuations here and there, nothing too egregious. This comes with a pretty wide array of special features. There's an audio commentary with action film historians Mike Leader and Arn Berna. And there's also an array of new interviews, one with Brian Bosworth, one with Lance Henriksen, one with actress Arabella Hallsberg, and one with actor with Sam McCarthy. So 4 new interviews and that new commentary track, some trailers and TV spots. They did this action diamond in the rough pretty good for what it is. I saw a lot of people were excited who are like action movie like fans who like kind of the cheesy stuff. We're excited about this, and so yeah, this is a good release if you're into that kind of vibe.
Nice. That sounds awesome. I don't know why I'm thinking when you say Bosworth, I'm thinking of the dad from Happy Days.
Oh, Tom Bosley.
Oh, wow. So I was way off. Okay, well, a little bit off.
You got Boz.
Yeah, I mean that would have been cool if he showed up, but no, that sounds awesome. Like you had me at 90s cheese, so
Yeah.
I will most definitely be getting that. And I do love really hilarious plays by his own rules, but gets results, so it's fine.
Yes.
So I'm pivoting quite a bit from my last 4K set, but to another 4K movie from 1955. Just one of the best movies of the decade, and that's saying a lot because there's a lot of really great movies from the 50s. But this is Night of the Hunter.
Leaning, leaning, safe and secure from all alarms. Leaning, leaning, leaning on the everlasting arms. What a fellowship, what a joy divine, leaning on the everlasting arms. What a blessedness, what a peace is mine, leaning on the everlasting arms.
I have to say I love the slipcover that they used for this. So here's the back. So I do not own the Criterion of this, but I know for a fact that nothing from the Criterion's ported over. They typically never share. That's not a dig on them. We love them here, but
Yeah.
just if you were wondering. So same back. No interior artwork. Here's the discs, and yeah. So, gosh, I want to say one of the biggest tragedies in classic Hollywood is that Charles Laughton never directed another film after this. He of course was in a lot of movies, but as far as directing, this was his one and only thing, and it bombed. And I guess maybe it humbled him in a way where he just didn't feel like he could make another movie, and that's really sad because this movie has certainly been reappraised, rightfully so, as a classic. I've heard other people talk about this movie being like a dark fairy tale, and very much like that. Especially the stuff with the kids. It's great, and it's funny because rewatching this, I was like, wow, this movie's kind of sex positive. Um,
Yeah.
because these kids are sort of taken in by this like old granny. She's really nice, but she's also badass because she has a shotgun, and she like wards off Robert Mitchum, who is just, oh my god, he makes my skin crawl. He is the maybe the best villain, and from what I hear, like he's maybe not a stretch. Robert Mitchum was evidently not a very nice person. But anyways, yeah, so this girl is one of these like runaways that this old lady sort of takes in. So they have their own sort of chosen family, which is another theme in this movie that I think is really progressive and interesting. But she gets sort of like caught, or I guess it's found out that she's been sort of playing the field, to put it nicely. But like, she doesn't like give her this huge lecture. She's like, you're just somebody looking for love. You're looking for like, to experience things. And I mean, it's a way of saying in 1955, like to be sort of like sex positive and not like slut shame her, essentially. So that's cool. But yeah, just I mean, I can't also say enough of how beautifully shot this movie is. I mean, every frame could be like framed in a gallery or something. It's the cinematography is amazing. It's one of those few movies that really utilizes the black and white for like the utmost atmosphere. I mean, same movies, I would say like Psycho, Night of the Living Dead. I mean, they all use black and white just beautifully. There's that infamous scene where, well, I won't say because maybe it's spoilery, and I can't assume everybody's seen this, but if you know the movie, you kind of know what I'm talking about. It's like an underwater scene. I'll just say that's all. But it's amazing. This release looks incredible. I mean, again, it's just one of those jaw dropping restorations. I've seen this like in very like dodgy sort of like DVD prints and stuff that didn't look great. This is like night and day. It's just beautiful looking. Again, it's just such an amazing looking film that this new restoration really does its justice. I love the commentary from Tim Lucas. These featurettes are also really incredible. I do really like the fact that they gave those special features its own disc. So, you have more space on the main disc just for the movie and the commentary track. So we always say this, but if you want this slipcover, you want to get this early, fantastic. I mean, this movie clocks in at 93 minutes. I mean, it clips along perfectly and is just one of these beautiful, haunting, like Robert Mitchum and Shelley Winters, I think are just at the apex of their career here. It's great. I wish Charles Laughton would have made more movies. We were just we were like so deprived of what he could have made, but my rant's over. But anyways, it's great.
Yeah, I do have the Criterion disc. I didn't want to get up and get it, so I was like, I grabbed my computer to look up what was on there, because I remember whenever I bought that disc, it was a little bit more expensive than the standard because there were 2 discs, and I was like, what was on that special features wise that like made it an extra disc? And I remember hearing people talk about this whenever it was announced. I had to jog my memory. So sorry if this entices you to seek out the Criterion Blu-ray as well. But on the second disc, there is a 2-hour and 40-minute like documentary called Charles Laughton Directs Night of the Hunter. So if you want like a really in-depth like documentary about Charles Laughton making this, you might have to pick that up as well. So I do love the movie. I saw it. I've seen the Criterion. I'm excited to check out the 4K. But it's a classic. It's one that I remember I've taken like some film classes in the past, and that's one that we actually like studied like some of the compositions and shots and stuff because like it's just so expertly made. It's great.
The only and I'll be really quick here. The only one tiny thing that if I would have changed, like the grandma character, and I'm sorry I'm calling her that because I am like blanking on her name, but like it's a little saccharine, like that whole disembodied head sort of opening where it's like the narration and stuff. It's just a little bit too sweet, but yeah, I mean it's nearly perfect, and that's so awesome that they like teach this in film school because it's amazing.
Yeah. My next title, I am doing a double dose of the NBD Rewind collection. So my first one, I'm continuing on the cheesy action train, and I'm going with Killzone. So I was a little hesitant to check this out after a couple weeks ago. I checked out LA Wars, which kind of seemed to have the same vibe.
Fuck you.
But I like looked up a little bit about this, and I was like, okay, maybe this will be better. And I will say this was better. It's not perfect, but I don't regret checking this out.
Put him in the box. He's one of us. He needs help. Nobody cares whether you live or die, whether you sweat or bleed. I don't want him caught. I want him wasted.
Here's the poster that comes with it, a little poster, and here's the inside here, and I will take out the disc so you can kind of see the interior artwork. It's not exactly double-sided, but you can if you want to, I guess, because it does have the title. So this actually has kind of a little bit of a parallel to another title I talked about a couple weeks ago called Opposing Force, because this one also involves a training exercise that gets a little bit too real. It's like there are these people who are like I guess soldiers who are in this training exercise, and one of them it has like PTSD, and it ends up triggering something that he thinks he's in Vietnam again, and he's kind of like goes off the reservation basically, and like goes into this town and like starts killing people, and like people are having to like try to PTSD stricken soldier like under control, and it's just kind of like this whole narrative of just like someone being pushed too far because of their trauma. And the movie is okay. It's like it's between LA Wars and Stone Cold in terms of like quality. It has some really well rendered set pieces. There's like some good action in this, a decent storyline that doesn't go on too long. It's like 91 minutes, so it doesn't drag on for too long. The ending is very abrupt, and I was like, the movie's finished? Okay. It's one of those types of things, but the acting is once again just very bad. It's just like I don't know what I know like a lot of these lower budget things, like this is like from American International Pictures, AIP. So a lot of their stuff is just very like run and gun. You got to get this done. But like, I just wish some of these performers just like it wouldn't be so bad. And like, if you enjoy seeing like someone like punch someone like 2 feet from them, but then the person's still falling down, this is the movie for you, because you see that all the time of just like missed shots and all that stuff. So it's okay. I didn't have a bad time with it, but I was more in a mood for like that cheesy action, like goodness this time around, and it's set a little bit better for me. So this, like LA Wars, this has an audio commentary track that also has a visual component, hosted by Heath over at Serial at Midnight. He interviews the producer and co-writer, and they kind of talk about AIP and how this movie developed and everything. That producer also sits down with another action film historian for like a featurette where he talks about the movie a little bit more in depth. This comes with another 36-minute making of, and then like a VHS version, like a VHS Vestron version, if you want to kind of experience that old school aesthetic of watching this on VHS. This does come from a 4K scan of the 35 millimeter interpositive. It is acceptable. It is good, not great, because it is still a low budget movie that like was not produced with the best quality, but it looks pretty solid. There's still like specks and of damage and lines and stuff, but it's been cleaned up quite a bit. It looks better than it probably ever has. But it overall, if you're in that mood, it's pretty solid. I would recommend this over LA Wars, but if you're collecting this line and you've collected from the beginning, it's not like a horrible entry. My next one would probably be a little bit more in your wheelhouse, even though it is also pretty bad. This is Witchtrap, which is from director, I want to get this right because I know you'll know him, Kevin Tenney, who did Night of the Demons, and there's Witchboard is the other one, which is, they make very specific mention that this is not a sequel to Witchboard, because probably for legal issues it said this is not a sequel to Witchboard, but Witchtrap. It's just like a little low budget movie that was made that has like a bunch of people that he had worked with in the past. A lot of people that probably horror fans would really love. Before I get into that, I'll show off the packaging a little bit. So here's the slip cover. Here's the back. I like how they kind of designed this to look kind of like a VHS. And then it has the underneath artwork is slightly different. And you have like all the special features and stuff here, which I'm sure Andre will probably put on screen. And then you also have reversible cover art. So got this classic looking artwork, and then you have the poster that all the first pressings of the Rewind collections come with. You have the disc artwork here, which is keeping with consistency. So here is it's what I just showed you in a bigger form, or for this poster, but Witchtrap. So got that here. So basically what this film is, for those who have not seen it, which probably a lot of you have not, is it is like basically a ripoff of The Haunting. It is like a man comes into a property that is haunted, and he calls in like kind of these paranormal investigators to rid the spirits from this house. And while they are there, the people like start getting picked off one by one in gory ways. So it's like a more gory version of the original Haunting. This, it's not good. It is pretty poor acting. The special effects are really good. The production design and the special effects are especially good. There's some like really nice gore effects of like stuff like going through throats and like getting pulled out, and like some squib work that's pretty good, and like impalements and all that good stuff.
From the writer and director of the classic horror film and box office smash, Witchboard.
Avery Lauder was more than just a psychic. He was an extremely powerful warlock.
You mean a witch?
Yes.
Something evil is about to happen.
Ginger, I have a bad feeling about this one.
Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
And nothing that exists in this world can stop it. It has powers we can never fathom, And when it strikes, there is no doubt that it is real. You are about to be caught in a witch trap. Come in. There's already someone inside. Witchtrap, starring Linnea Quigley.
What I really appreciate about this, and they make a mention of this in the special features, are at least in the commentary track. There's a commentary track with Kevin Tenney and the cinematographer and I believe one of the producers. And they, like one of his colleagues like remarked about how this was actually a pretty diverse cast for the time. Like there's like an Asian American hero and like also an African American like co-star as well, who he's like that's just how I grew up. I grew up as like a military brat who like I that was my reality, so I wanted that reflected on the screen, which I think is pretty cool. And like especially this era of horror like wasn't always the most like inclusive. Like you wouldn't have like an Asian lead for the most part, like so that was pretty cool. But despite that, it's not a great movie. But if you like Kevin Tenney and you like kind of like dumb horror movies, you'll probably have fun with it. But overall, not the best. This also does have a acclaimed horror actress, Linnea Quigley.
Linnea Quigley.
I saw a lot of IMDb reviews like saying I watched it for her, and there's a new interview with her, which is pretty cool. So you get like a new interview with her, Kevin Tenney, the cinematographer, the special effects supervisor. You also get a VHS version of this movie, so you can like if you want to watch it VHS style. And yeah, there's just like a pretty solid assortment of interviews here and good packaging. I wish the movie was better, but it's cheesy fun, but it's not good by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. Also, you were spot on with Linnea Quigley. Yeah, she's great. I actually met her a couple times. Actually, funny enough, my very first convention I ever attended, I was maybe 16, 17, and she was like the first person that I met. And yeah, she had a very short biography. What was it called? Like Chainsaws and something. But yeah, no, I haven't seen that since actually renting it in VHS. So that would be really fun to maybe just revisit. I'm really excited because we both really love this series. And this is The Dark Side of Cinema, Volume 13.
Yeah.
Cover. Here's the back. And so yeah, this and this kind of will tie into what my next thing will be that I'm talking about. But this was an interesting trio of films. So Spy Hunt is the first one I'm going to talk about. I'm going to go through these sort of quickly. But yeah, so this was like a Cold War sort of thriller. And it's very much a B movie, but I think they do try to make it at least interesting. I really particularly liked how like the big thrust of the plot is there's this like MacGuffin of was like a microchip or something that was cleverly, I mean, it seems impractical, but they place it in a collar of a Black Panther. And of course the Panther escapes, and it's sort of feels like it veers into a Val Lewton movie for a little while, but yeah, it's interesting. It's like it's kind of, besides that really great hook, I think it's very much a very bog standard sort of spy thriller movie. It does have a really again, the hook's interesting. I don't think the narrative ever really matches how cool that sort of setup that is with the Panther. And yeah, I just kind of wish the characters had been more fleshed out. And I believe like there could have been definitely more done with, especially like the main sort of like hero. And the second act does tend to drag a little bit. I really did appreciate the commentary track though, watching it a second time, because it does like kind of give you a lot of context behind the time this was made. Gives you a lot of great information about that, about the cast, about the director. Um, and I mean, it did sort of make me appreciate it a little bit more, but it's fine. Not my favorite, not the worst. I'm trying to think if I want to say the worst for last. Maybe it will. The Night Runner is another really interesting one. So it's a movie from 1957 that tries to handle the topic of mental illness.
Yay.
And it goes not quite as poorly as you might imagine, but not great. All jokes aside, though, I will say it feels like it really does try to humanize. Wow, I just had a little mini stroke there. I try to humanize someone struggling with mental health, and I will say it actually just kind of seems like it plays into stereotypes, and it's hard to really elaborate on that because that would kind of give away the finale. It does take a turn. The movie is not paced that great either. It's 79 minutes, but I found the first act very boring. And I know that they sort of need to fast track this character and his motivations, but the plot just kind of stops for a while people just sort of dick around. And I don't know, it doesn't really get going to the second act. And then once it does, it's really something. So Night Runner, I mean, its heart seems like it's in the right place, but it's still very cringe. So take that information for what you will. Colin Miller is in our next film, and this is a Step Down to Terror, and oh boy, this is a step down in quality. So this is a remake of Alfred Hitchcock's stellar film Shadow of a Doubt. Like, if y'all haven't seen it, I know it's not as famous as like Psycho or The Birds, but like, holy crap, it's fantastic. So they take this really fantastic premise and then they just water it down, and then it's really dumb and I hate it. And I will elaborate on that, but yeah, if you really want, it is an interesting exercise in taking like why hit like it's hard to really replicate what Hitchcock does. And it's not just because of his direction, it's his, team, it's his, the writers that he employs to really richly develop these characters and the narrative and the suspense. All of that's missing here. The actors are fine, but like when you're comparing them to like Shadow of a Doubt, it's like comparing I don't know, a burger in a dumpster to a filet mignon. And that sounds so mean, and I'm not trying to be mean to the actors. They do a good job of like what they have to work with, but it's just not very good. It, even the amazing finale in Shadow of a Doubt that like they could have easily replicated is just tossed out. They just do something else much more boring, and yeah, I hated it, and it made me sad. And yeah, I will say it has a commentary track. We always appreciate that. This entire set is really interesting. I like the mixture of, you got like a Cold War thriller, you got a thriller about somebody with like mental health, and then you have a not very good Hitchcock remake sort of thrown in there. But it's a nice set. I believe these all have yeah, they all have commentary tracks, which is nice. They all have trailers, which I mean is a feature, I guess, technically. But yeah, yeah, these all come with new 2K masters as well. They all look really nice. Great set. and I'm going to take a drink before I die. Back to you.
Yes, I will gladly take over. My next title is one for all the 80s sitcom fans. This is Project Alf on Blu-ray from Liberation Hall, which is a label I do not talk about very much on here because they have not released that much. But the last time I talked about them, I talked very badly about them. So they were the company that released the RoboCop TV series, which I really did not like because they really badly misframed it to a point where like they converted the full screen frame to widescreen and like cut off people's like heads and stuff, like framing wise, and it was just a mess. So I'll tell you a little bit how they did with this one in just a little bit. But first off, I'll talk about the movie itself. So I'm not like a Alf fanatic or anything, but I've seen a good amount of Alf. I'm like, if I look down, I can see like all 4 seasons, I believe, that I own of the original series on DVD. And I've seen a good portion of it. I've seen at least a few of those seasons, and it's fun. Like, it's not great 80s sitcom, but it's like I have a soft spot for it. And I actually did not know that this existed, but kind of digging into a little bit of like how this came to be. Whenever the series was canceled originally, it ended on a very big cliffhanger, which, spoiler alert for the original Alf finale or whatever, but Alf was taken away by the government, and everyone was just like, oh, okay, what happened? Like, and then NBC was like, screw off, we'll never tell you. Years later, in the 90s, they finally made Project Alf, which like kind of bridged that gap and kind of like let you know what happened in that time to Alf. And it starts off with him in custody, and eventually like turns into like a road trip movie after Alf gets broken out by like some allies within the government, and it's basically like a vehicle for Alf to get into shenanigans on the road and like potentially get exposed to the world at large as like an alien who is on Earth and all that stuff. But this movie is pretty entertaining. I wasn't expecting it to be entertained as much as I was, and it actually has some very risque humor, which I was not expecting. Like there's like a really fun runner at the beginning, which is probably the best part of the movie, where it's like Alf is getting like interrogated, and it's just him delivering one-liners with a bunch of different scientists who are coming in, one of which is like Ed Begley Jr., which was fun to see him there. But he like makes a saltpeter joke, which like I was not expecting, but it made me laugh a lot. There's a lot of other off-color jokes too. It's just like there's some really adult humor in this, which I found very funny. There's a lot of actors in here you wouldn't expect. Martin Sheen has a very prominent role in this.
Oh, please. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Do I have to come up with funny answers? Medic!
In a battle to the death with one of Hollywood's most respected stars.
Oh, why don't you just stab me?
Listen to me, you furry little freak. When we exterminate you, we're going to be sending a message to every other extraterrestrial out there. We will no longer be intimidated. Not me, not my mama, not anyone.
Your mama? Did he say his mama?
We found Alf to be a warm, friendly, occasionally annoying, but highly intelligent creature.
How do you feel about dating outside of your species?
It wouldn't be the first time.
Isn't she delightful?
The Mensch from Melmac is back.
Yeah.
And now, he's an alien with an attitude.
I hope you're not trying to win any prizes with those outfits. The village people uniform's okay, but that dog suit's the worst.
Permission to bite the bouncer, sir.
Sir, Alf is a menace to society and ought to be incinerated.
Don't you mean incarcerated, sir?
No.
Once people know Alf exists, he'll be safe. You want to go public with Alf?
And let's not forget the merchandising possibilities.
Miguel Ferrer, William O'Leary, Beverly Archer, John Shuck, Ed Begley Jr., Ray Walston, and Martin Sheen.
There's a very thin line between mutilating cows and eating cats.
And I don't know exactly how to say his name. It's like Miguel Ferreira.
Miguel Ferreira.
Like he's like a great character actor who's like was in like Traffic and a bunch of other stuff.
Anything we should be working on?
Yeah. You might practice walking without dragging your knuckles on the floor.
Albert, let's talk about knuckles. For the last time, I knocked you down. I felt bad about it. The next time is going to be a real pleasure.
You listen to me. While I will admit to a certain cynicism, the fact is that I'm a naysayer and hatchet man in the fight against violence. I pride myself in taking a punch, and I'll gladly take another because I choose to live my life in the company of Gandhi and King. My concerns are global. I reject absolutely revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. I love you, Sheriff Truman.
Albert's path is a strange and difficult one.
I fucking love that guy!
He plays like one of like the main like kind of villains. He's like wanting to expose Alf and like expose like alien life forms to like civilization. There's also a lot of other like random appearances from people which are fun. But overall, it's a fun journey. It's better than I expected. I did not expect to like have such a fun time with Alf after all these years, but it was fun. Like it's not great cinema or anything, but as like a TV special that like kind of wrapped up the whole story, it was fun. The only like kind of downside to this is they don't feature the original family in any capacity that like had housed Alf for all those seasons. They make references to like where they are after all these years, but they don't show them. So that's kind of like maybe a disappointment to longtime fans, but I did want to mention that. But how's the Blu-ray? I'll let you know. Once again, they take a like a movie that was made for full frame, like 1.33 by 1, and they make it widescreen. However, it is not like an abomination like the RoboCop series was. While I do want like pretty much all titles to be presented in their original aspect ratio, I think this works pretty well. There's no egregious instances of any like heads being cut off. It's framed pretty well, and like as far as the transfer, it looks really nice. I was surprised by how good this looked. Like the original Alpha was shot on video, so it's unlikely that it's ever going to be seen on Blu-ray. Maybe if there's like an ambitious company out there that wants like a marginal upgrade. But this was actually shot on film, and it looks like it. It looks really nice. There's like no real damage to speak of. It has like really nice colors. It's really clear. I was very impressed by how it looks, besides the fact that it's misframed, but it kind of looks like certain series that have been released on Blu-ray kind of reframed, like Sex and the City. It was like this, and The Wire, and like I know like if you look at Seinfeld on Netflix, which there's some gags that don't work on certain episodes for that, but I won't go off on a tangent. But overall, there seemed to be some kind of attention paid to how this was framed for widescreen. So it's not a dumpster fire like I would kind of classify RoboCop. It's not ideal, but the fact that it looks pretty good, like I can kind of get over it. But I wish they'd either given like an option, like some like the 12 Angry Men TV movie gives an option to watch in full frame or widescreen. I wish that had happened here. That's not the case, but it looks really good. So I'm mixed on it, but overall, I think it's a solid disc, and it's not a disgrace to the original material. I'll just say that it's a pretty good release, and this comes with an audio commentary track with the original creator, which like has a lot of good tidbits about some even more risque jokes that had to be cut, like crotchless panty jokes, which I was like, whoa, okay. And other than that, there's not much in the way of special features.
That's interesting. So now I have seen Alf maybe what feels like 1,000 years ago. Was the original series, did it kind of sneak in some adult humor? Do you recall?
From what I remember, there was like humor for adults, but I'm not sure how much they tried to push the line. I think they did try to keep it more family friendly, but I think that he's always kind of been like a ham and kind of like a little bit of a just kind of throw in little things here and there.
Okay. Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. And I mean, I'm glad that it's not like the dumpster fire that the RoboCop thing was. So my final title is not a movie, it's a book. And you know,
we hate books.
No, we don't. Here we are classy and sophisticated, and we read. But no, this is incredible. So this is Eddie Muller's Noir Bar, cocktails inspired by the world of film noir. This is from TCM and Running Press. And longtime viewers will know that I've reviewed like TCM books before. They're always amazing. This one, no exception. Amazing. You had to do the dramatic pause there, but also I want to just say, like, everybody that gets this book, take a second to just check out the acknowledgments. I'm not going to go through them all, but like just how this book is put together is incredible. So I also got to interview Eddie Muller talking about this book. It was so much fun. I'm going to link that in the description. But like, let's check this book out. So the really cool thing is we get a really nice, I mean, it's laid out just beautifully, but like we have the movie title and the drink. For example, you know, the big clock has a stinger. The blue gardenia has the pearl diver, which is a drink in the movie, which was kind of fun, and that's something that I talked to Mr. Muller about. But just, I mean, look at these beautiful, like the reproductions of these photos. And I know, like from shopping around with like publishers, it's not always a given that the transfer of photos are going to be really nice and clean. But yeah, everything is just beautifully laid out. Eddie Muller's credos is bar room, not classroom. And this book has an air of it's academic, but it's casual. It doesn't feel like you're being lectured at. Like when I talked to Eddie, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he was like, I want this book to be like you're going into a bar and the bartender is telling you these really cool stories. And he relates a lot of these anecdotes with like a lot of people in these movies he met. And just like the research was fun. I asked him about that, and he's like, "Well, it's always fun when you can write booze off on your tax return," which I thought was funny. But yeah, so you know, even if you don't drink, and this is also something he talked about, was you know, if you're not somebody that's actually going to make these cocktails, there's still a wealth of information, and it's still a really cool coffee table book to have. But I want to show you these photos. There was a again in the acknowledgement, they talk about the who styled this, prop stylist, photographer. But that is so cool and detailed and beautiful looking. This whole book is just absolutely stellar. I feel like it just doesn't really do justice to how good this book is. It's great. It's such a fun. I mean, it's weird. It sounds weird saying a cocktail book was a fun read, but again, you know, he really tells a story in here with like anecdotes and some really great information. I mean, he's the czar of noir for a reason. So it's a really great book. And again, I will link his my interview with him in the description. He is like one of the nicest people among the nicest people I've ever talked to. He is just so genuine and authentic and nice and really cool. So yeah, I highly recommend this book. It's great. He's got another book coming out in the fall. If you want to find out what that is, you'll have to read my interview with him. But that's a little tease. But yeah, I wanted to go off on a high note, and yeah, this is really fantastic.
Nice. I am not a drinker of alcohol, but like you said, that seems like it'd be like just a fun kind of like mixture of like cinematic history with like just kind of like a fun recreational thing. So that's pretty cool. My final title is one I want to like go off on kind of like a lighthearted note. So this is from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment, and it is We Baby Bears, The Magical Box, which like whenever I was channel surfing like several years ago, I kind of came across We Bear Bears, and I was like, this seems like something I would love. And I watched like a few kind of segments of it, and it seemed fun, but it's just something I never got back to, which maybe one day I will. But then I found out there was this spinoff, We Baby Bears. So I was like, even tinier versions of these bears, like as children. So whenever this came out, I was like excited to dig in. So this is actually the first 20 episodes, which the episodes are about like 11 minutes long. So about like 10 full, like normal length episodes, but 20 episodes of the series. And it kind of goes from the beginning episodes where you learn about their magical box and like their beginnings, and like how they like go on all these fun adventures, like one's inspired like Jack and the Beanstalk, and there's just like all kinds of just fun adventures that they're getting into, and they're really amusing. Like each of them have very amusing personalities. I like the polar bear. I like his like his kind of like monotone delivery of certain jokes just really cracks me up. But I love all of them. They're all like, each of them have like their episodes where they really stand out, especially. And I didn't really find there to be any duds within this. Like I was just having a really good time. It's just like a lighthearted, like it's I guess a kid's show, but it's like for all ages really, because like there's a lot of like smart humor that adults can really appreciate too. Like I have no children and no desire, but like I still really enjoy watching like a lot of like family entertainment, and this like really hit the spot. It's just like we watch so much dark shit, but like it's just like sometimes you just need something that's just nice and just like it makes you laugh, and it's just like really good, like good clean fun.
How's the home hunting going? Not good. Houses cost money. Oh, bummer. I'm tired of this lifestyle leading to nowhere. I wish we had a place of our own. Yeah, no rent, no landlord, just a home where we can be ourselves. Iceberg craves stability over permanent residence. I know! Let's make a wish on a shooting star! You think that'll really work? It always works in cartoons! Just think what it would be like if our wish came true!
Instant star. I traveled so far past the sun, light years away, adventures of the day.
So yeah, this DVD, I wish it was a Blu-ray. I gotta say this every time we talk about DVDs. I wish it was a Blu-ray, but it looks really nice. This series is on HBO Max. I did like compare the two. It does look a little bit better on HBO Max, I'll admit, but it's not a night and day difference, especially since this is a newer show. That like whenever I go back and forth, I can like it's just like degrees of like looking good. So like this is acceptable for what it is. I would like not pass up the opportunity if like whenever this series is released, I just did like a complete series Blu-ray. I'd love it. But for right now, just being able to own this in case I don't want to pay like $15 or $20 a month for HBO Max, that's great. But it's a good release. There's no special features, but like it's like good video quality for DVD, especially. Pretty good audio quality. It's Dolby Digital 2.0, but it's like it sounds perfectly fine. And yeah, it's just if you want to own this on physical, here it is. It's really good. It's a fun time, and yeah, it's what more can I say? It's just a fun, good time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you really nailed it when, there are definitely times when we need that palate cleanser. We need something that's a little bit like light and not like overly dark or oppressive. So, yeah, that sounds like a really good, recommendation. And yeah, maybe we will get a Blu-ray someday. That'll be cool. But I like how we both kind of wrapped up on a really high note because we, of course, just looking at our backgrounds, we both love physical media. We hate dumping on stuff like what we love. So, yeah, and as always, any likes, comments, all that good stuff really helps. It's really cool that it seems like we're retaining an audience. That's awesome. And as always, thank you for hanging out with us.